Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is a brand new Deku What If. What if Deku was a half Viltrumite? And if you guys enjoy, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I don't got much else to say other than the fact that you should check the links in the description for the Spotify, for the Discord, for the membership. If you guys want to check that out, if you want to support me more. Now, with all that said, I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into the what if. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is brought into a world full of superpowers known as quirks. But bringing himself or getting brought into this world without a quirk, well, a lot of people would think that it's very uncommon. And actually, a full 20% of the population is actually quirkless, and Izuku would be one of those people. But seems like his mother, Inko Midoriya, would actually not be very worried about this fact, like, at all. It's a little bit odd, but at the age of around 4, 5, or even 6 years old, he still has not shown any signs of having a quirk. But his mother, well, she's like, oh no, like, there's nothing wrong. Everything's gonna be alright. Like, everything will turn out to be okay, which is a little bit odd. Like, why is she acting that way? Why exactly is she thinking that everything's gonna be fine if he doesn't have a quirk? And she tells him that everybody gets a quirk at a different time. You never really know. That it could come when he's older. It could show up and he could be a late bloomer. You never really know. And she tells him, like, they shouldn't worry. He shouldn't kind of be dreaded about it. He shouldn't worry a single thing, because she has a good feeling that one of these days coming very soon, maybe when he's older, maybe when he's a teenager, he'll get his quirk, he'll get his powers, and he won't have to worry about a single thing. And she tells him, but to start, let's start with some basic stuff. Let's teach you how to defend yourself. Let's teach you how to properly diet and do various different things. And as he grows older, as he's around 12 or 13 years old, these things are really useful. She would get him into sports and anything else that she possibly could think of. But even when he's around 13, she would start to worry just a little bit, wondering if his powers would ever show up. And the reason for this is because Inko Midoriya is a Viltrumite, believing that her son is eventually going to be granted or gain powers in the long run. Some are born with them, some get them when they're young, but some, they get them when they're around 17, maybe even 18 years old. And she gets a little bit worried about her child and a little bit worried about if he's ever going to really get his powers. But she tries to keep that straight face and say, yeah, no, you should be okay. I mean, I'm sure it eventually will show up. And this would all the way lead him to he's about 15 or 16 years old. Going into his classroom, and everybody would be talking about how they want to be heroes, that everybody wants to go to UA, but the two people that are trying to get into UA are Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. And of course, Bakugo is pissed about this. A quirkless loser like Deku could never get into UA, and he tells him that he should just give up right now. But Izuku doesn't really take that into account. He doesn't worry about what Bakugo's saying. He doesn't worry about Bakugo saying this or that, or being upset about this or that. He doesn't listen to him. He believes, like, you know what? If I'm going to be great, if I'm going to be a hero, if I'm going to kind of make that next step, I'm going to make it. And there's nothing, there's nobody, there is not a single thing that is going to tell him otherwise. And Izuku Midoriya makes that very clear, that he's not going to let anybody else sit there and tell him what he can and can't do. He wants to make sure that they all know, they all remember that this is how they treated him. This is how they treated Izuku when he was growing up, when he was fighting for his spot, when he was grasping onto that spot to be a hero. And he makes it very clear that he's not giving up. And this would piss off Bakugo. Bakugo would even try to attack him after school, but luckily Izuku, he's somewhat trained in self-defense, so he's able to get out of harm's way, move out of the way, not get hit and he's able to, you know, somewhat defend himself. So it's not like he's gonna get hurt or beat up by Bakugo to an extent. He ends up being okay, and luckily enough, he gets out of harm's way, and after the day is all said and done, he would just head home. But he would decide that he wanted to go the long way. He wanted to head home the not so normal way to actually go home for him. And in doing so, he's writing in his journal, you know, thinking about various things, and this would lead to a villain. Yes, the sludge villain showing up and attacking him. And as a sludge villain would attack him, Izuku would try to run away. He would be terrified. What does he do? He has to do something. There's just no way he's going to survive this, and the sludge villain would eventually grab him, get a hold of him, and start trying to take him over. As he's trying to take Izuku over, Izuku begins to feel something, feel this odd sensation as if it's his body telling him that he can break free, that he can get out, and he can save himself. And that's exactly what Izuku Midoriya does. He breaks free. He breaks free from the sludge villain, obliterating it into little pieces, and it scatters all over the walls. The sludge villain's pieces would just splatter everywhere, and he would be in shock, standing there in the middle of this kind of giant goo pile, and he would be looking around thinking, how did I do that? How the hell did I just do that? And he's in shock, in awe, but also he realizes that he just got his quirk, his powers, whatever you want to call it, he just got them. And he's in complete and utter shock, but he now knows that he did it. He made it. He has the powers that his mother was talking about for so long. He has the powers that he's been kind of searching for so long. He made it. He got there. He's finally going to be able to be the hero he always wanted to be. And of course, this is when All Might would show up, see him, and would be like, whoa, what just happened here? Like, what happened, kid? Like, are you okay? What's going on? And Izuku would explain everything. Tell him what happened, tell him what's going on, and even tell him that he was able to defeat the villain himself. It's because his quirk just arrived. Like, his quirk just showed up, in which immediately he's like, whoa, really? Like, I haven't heard many late bloomers. That's pretty impressive. I'm really surprised that someone like in this world nowadays, it can be a late bloomer. Like, you are a late bloomer and you got your quirk just now. That's pretty damn insane. In which Izuku says, like, yeah, I mean, I was shocked too. I was in complete shock when I was able to do it. But now I'm here. Now I could do these things. It seems like I have some sort of maybe like super strength or something like that. He doesn't, obviously Izuku has literally no idea, but he would learn a little bit more when he would head home and speak with his mother. Because when he goes home and his mother's there waiting and he begins speaking with her and she tells him that he actually, yes, he does have has a quirk. He does have powers, but it's not a quirk. She then begins to explaining to Izuku that his powers come from an alien race, a race known as the Viltrumites, other known as the Viltrumite Empire. And she explains that long ago, they were the strongest beings in the universe, but soon, like a virus of some sorts actually cut them to pieces, so much so that there was very little Viltrumites even living. To her knowledge, there's borderline only 10 that exist throughout the universe, but the other 9 are scattered throughout various different planets that are very, very far away. But she ended up here. She ended up here to being able to actually be granted a brand new life. And she explains to him that she's actually been here for a pretty long time, almost 100 years. Some people, they don't even know her by Inko Midoriya, but others know her by various different names that went missing or that ended up, passing away. She explains this to him and says that he is a superhero. He is not only human, he is half Viltrumite, of an insanely powerful and warrior race that can really really protect everybody and stand alone and help as many people as possible. And she tells him this is why she was so confident. This is why she knew that he would eventually get his quirk. In which Izuku is in shock. Are you serious? Like that's why you said that? That's why you believed I would get my quirk, because you knew that this would be the case? Like you knew that I would basically be that next up and comer. You know, I would be that next person. I would be the next hero, aka I would be the first kind of half human Viltrumite. In which, yeah, that's the case. In which she tells Izuku that they can't tell anybody about this. They have to keep this under wraps because they don't know what could happen if this got around. They don't know what could happen if people started knowing or learning or hearing or anything like that. She wants to make sure that they don't go overboard with this. She wants to make sure that they keep everything that is talked about here, about the idea of Viltrumites and stuff like that, under wraps and only between them. And he nods his head, of course, like, I won't tell anybody, I promise. In which he asks her, can you please train me? Teach me how to use my powers. In which, of course, she would say, yeah, of course, I'll teach you how to utilize your powers. Let's just start with the basics. And she would start by teaching him the idea of leverage, that the Viltrumites can turn everything from air to anything you can think of into leverage, allowing them to fly. On top of that, being able to hold back, but on top of that, being able to utilize your strength efficiently. All of these various different capabilities that a Viltrumite may be able to do, she begins to teach him. And this would take over the next 10 months, but they wouldn't do anything like heavy lifting or anything like that. Like, they wouldn't do some like crazy, insane training regimen because, well, she doesn't have the money for that. She doesn't have the actual value that she can really get out of getting some crazy capabilities that would allow him to train just a bit better. But still, she can still teach him how to utilize his own powers, how to utilize the quote-unquote quirk that he has been granted, leading him to eventually kind of trying out for the UA entrance exam. And this exam would be a basic one. Now, for starters, of course, he would have the written portion of the exam, but the real portion has to be the kind of practical or robot portion of this exam, and he makes very quick work of this part of the exam, flying around, destroying robot after robot, and he would have no issues handling all of it. No issues kind of handling and putting aside these so-called robots. And these robots are borderline nothing. I mean, these robots are an absolute freaking joke, like genuinely an absolute joke. And it's pretty insane to watch, but Izuku flies around destroying these robots, and a lot of people who are watching, they're like, whoa. I mean, it says here that he didn't get his quirk until like 10 months prior. And of course, this is pretty damn insane, but yeah, this is ridiculous. How is this the case? How was he able to do this? How was he able to like legitimately kind of get to that level? How was he able to legitimately be at that high of a level when literally he just got his quirk, he just got his powers? It makes no sense. But he must have been training like all hell. He must have been training like crazy, because no normal person would be able to do the things he was doing, legitimately flying through robot after robot, destroying, obliterating, and handling the robots easily. And nobody else would have been able to do this, not very easily, like at all. So the fact that he's doing it on 10 months of training with his quirk, that right there is beyond impressive. That right there is beyond any kind of impressive thing that people have really ever seen, because there's not many people out there with the capabilities that Izuku does, and with only 10 months of training, that could do the things he's doing right now in front of them all, destroying all these robots and eventually even stopping the 0-point robot from squishing a girl on the ground stuck under rubble. He proves that he's definitely that he definitely should be there, but also proves that he is worth the #1 spot in UA or Class 1A when he gets his letter. A letter that would tell him that he is the #1 student and he is the future of what they're trying to do. Now, not too long would pass, not too much time would pass, and eventually the time for UA, the first day, would arrive. And when he would arrive, he would see Bakugo, and Bakugo would be pissed, telling him that he knew he was hiding something, that he's just a loser, that he tried to make fun of him, he tried to make him look bad by hiding his quirk. But Izuku tells him that he's a late bloomer. He just got his quirk 10 months ago. He can believe it or not, but he doesn't care. At the end of the day, he has his powers, and even without his powers, he was so much better than Bakugo, in which Bakugo is pissed, and he goes to shoot an explosion at Izuku, but as he does this, his quirk would be cancelled by their teacher, Shota Aizawa. Aizawa canceling his quirk, telling him to sit down now or he will be expelled, and this would lead them to actually their quirk assessment. As they head off to do their quirk assessment, he tells Izuku to start immediately. So as Izuku heads up and he grabs a ball, he would chuck it and he would throw it so hard that it goes into space. Everybody would stand there and see that his score was infinity, and he would look at them and shrug and say that this right here is just the tip of the iceberg, because he's just still learning how to utilize all of these powers, and nobody else is going to be able to touch him once he gets a full grasp on it. And he wants to tell everybody here, especially Bakugo, that he is not anyone's enemy. He is no one's threat. He is no anything. He wants to be a student just like all of them. So don't look at him any differently, but just know that he is here to compete if that's what they want. Of course, this is directed toward some of the other students like Bakugo and Todoroki and maybe a couple others, but for the most part, people think this is pretty damn cool. They tell him that this is awesome, that whatever he can do, like, they want to see more and more and more, in which Aizawa eventually says, like, this isn't supposed to be fun and games, and whoever gets last place, they're going to be expelled. But, of course, Izuku has literally no chance of getting expelled, but he shows off all of his capabilities from his flight, his strength, and all these things that he can do in one foul swoop, getting first in every single category of the quirk assessment, easily blowing everybody out of the water. And a lot of people there, well, they're excited to still train and work with Izuku, because it's pretty damn obvious that his capabilities are on the level of someone like All Might. I mean, that's the way they look at him. They look at him like this Superman-like hero, like this person that is of an insane caliber, and it blows their mind. But Izuku, well, he passes all of these #1 in the quirk assessment. And of course, this is all like a ruse from Aizawa to expel somebody. And even if he does expel them, he'll bring them back the next day. But with all that said, the next day would eventually ensue, and he would have a training session, Heroes versus Villains training session. That would be him and Ochako versus Bakugo and Tenya, which this would be quick work for Izuku. He could choose to go fight Bakugo and stuff like that, but he would choose to swoop up Ochako and just fly around to find where the bomb is through the windows. And he would quickly find that and find the bomb where the bomb is through the windows, and very easily set himself up and set everyone up for kind of a quick match that they had to watch. A very, very quick one that is borderline just over instantly, and Izuku didn't even have to fight. Like, he straight up didn't even have to fight at all. He just, he took things really in a smart direction. He decided, hey, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle it? And the way he handled it was exactly how, well, the other teachers, All Might and many others would say was the right direction. And that's exactly what he ended up doing, and exactly what ended up happening. And it led to him obviously having a pretty damn good outcome. But of course, Bakugo is not too happy about that outcome. But it's not like he can really do much about it. Just because you don't like an outcome doesn't mean you can do anything about the outcome. But at the same time, Izuku is making kind of a fool of Bakugo, especially for someone who was declaring that he was going to be the best, that he was going to be better than everyone else. And someone like Izuku swoops on in with 10 months notice and basically makes you look like a joke. It definitely bothers him to a certain degree, but they are friends, right? Deep down inside, Bakugo sees this and thinks he's happy for Izuku, but at the same time, he freaking hates him. He absolutely despises what he's doing. But there's little bits of Bakugo that he really does care that Izuku is actually doing well. And this would continue on for a while. Now, of course, they would head off to the USJ for even more training, more specifically in rescue training. And that's something that Izuku really wanted to get into. Because at the end of the day, you need some real world type of scenarios, real world type of situations to really get your head in the game. And to get his head in the game, he wants to work hard at in terms of like saving people, rescuing people, and anything he can possibly really think of. And when he gets to the USJ, I mean, he's excited. I mean, he's really up for the battle, up for the chance to really try things out. But before you know it, a portal would open up and villains would come pouring through, countless numbers of them, and Aizawa would tell Pro Hero 13 to get the students out of harm's way. But before you know it, Izuku would have been teleported away to a nearby area, actually an area with a bit of a lake, and he would be basically tossed into that lake. But before you know it, he flies straight out of there and he goes toward where Asui and Mineta are. He tells them that he could just fly them over the lake if they want to, but they're gonna have to deal with these villains anyways, in which Izuku says that he's gonna go handle that now, which Asui asks him, like, do you want any help? And Izuku shrugs his shoulders and says, hey, if you feel that you're capable and you want to help out, jump in there. Feel free. He's not going to say no. There's no point of not saying no, and any help will be appreciated. He jumps in with Asui, and they absolutely dismantle these little villains. And immediately Asui's realizing, like, these villains were not prepared for this. Yes, the idea was to put them in a position where they're utilizing water or one of their big strengths, but it's pretty obvious that they were not ready for the powerhouse that is Izuku Midoriya. But on top of that, they weren't really prepared to actually deal with another amphibian or Aquarius like hero. I mean, this hero or this person in Asui can literally or has advantages in the water. So the fact is, she's going to be able to help out and also take down these villains easier than normal, because at the end of the day, she's pretty good in the water, like pretty damn solid. So the fact is, they're not going to really have that much of a chance, especially with the help of Izuku being able to hold his breath not only for a long time, but also being able to absolutely dismantle, like destroy these villains very easily. And after dismantling them, he would take Asui and Mineta out of there and get them to somewhat safety. But as this is occurring, he looks and he sees that a Nomu, this giant creature, disgusting creature, is about to attack Aizawa. But Izuku would jump in the way, blocking the hit, actually tanking the hit to a certain degree. He obviously moves Aizawa out of the way and tells him that he can help him with this fight. He should just focus on the creepy guy with the hand on his face, and he'll focus on the big guy. In which Aizawa says this is not a good idea until he sees Izuku absolutely smack the Nomu backwards and send him flying. And then he realizes, okay, maybe this is a bit above my pay grade, so I'm gonna let the kid help me. And that's exactly what he does. Izuku takes on the Nomu one-on-one as Shigaraki is subdued by Aizawa. Now, for the most part, Aizawa can handle Shigaraki and even handle Kurogiri to an extent, but with the help of Bakugo and Shoto, it seems as if it makes the fight a lot easier. And Izuku just goes 1-for-1 with the Nomu, just absolutely going back and forth. And yes, Izuku is taking some damage, and he's taking quite a bit of it. But at the same time, he seems to be faster than the Nomu. He seems to be quite a bit as strong, or quite a bit maybe even stronger than the Nomu. And it seems as if Izuku is really keeping up. And every single little bit of action and fighting and chance to really kind of fight in scenarios like this, he seems to be getting even more powerful than he ever expected. And he continues to build on this more and more and more, leading to the eventual arrival of All Might. And when All Might arrives to go 2-on-1 with the Nomu, they're able to land their kind of signature punches, or, well, you know, the whole Detroit Smash thing. And of course, Izuku would kind of adopt it as well, landing a blow straight to the Nomu and knocking it clean out of the area, or out of the USJ, and immediately being able to lock up Shigaraki and Kurogiri before anything else could ever happen. With the other heroes arriving, it's more backup on more backup, and it leads to the eventual restraint of the League of Villains and all the villains that are actually there. And All Might, he would see this and he would think, whoa, this is insanity. This kid, he's insanely powerful. This is beyond anything he thought it was going to be. When he heard the kid was kind of got his powers, or he just got them right then and there, and he basically had a lot of time to kind of train. Like, he had to train to get better and, you know, get more powerful. He didn't expect the kid to be at this level, like, already. He is in complete and utter shock at the fact that this kid is at such a high level without much experience. And it seems as if he continues to get, like, in terms of a higher level, more and more as they continue training and training some more. And after all this is said and done, after all of this is put behind them, and as all the villains are swooped up and captured, All Might considers something that would change the course for Izuku more than anything, and that is offering him a chance, offering him the opportunity to actually become the successor to All Might, offering him a chance, offering Izuku Midoriya the ability to gain the powers of One for All. But Izuku, he doesn't know. He's like, I'm not sure about this. Like, are you sure I'm the right person for the job? Like, don't get me wrong. Your secret's safe with me. I'm not going to say a word to anyone else. But are you sure that I really am the one for the job here? And he's questioning it like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. Right? I don't know. But I do have the ability and the capability to do things outside, you know, of needing One for All, or outside of needing his powers. But of course, All Might would say it's always up to him, and Izuku kind of shakes his head. He just doesn't know. He would love to talk to his mom or his mother about this, if she believed like this was a good choice or a good idea. And he thinks about it for a second and says, you know what, let's do that. Let's put your mother in the loop, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation. We'll keep it, let's just say, a little bit ambiguous, but let's make sure to tell her about it. Now, before the UA Sports Festival, they do have a conversation with Inko about this. They talk to Inko. They talk to about a chance at gaining even more power for Izuku. And Inko hears this, and she immediately believes that it has something to do with like a special training or something along those lines. Maybe something that they can do, in which she says as long as it doesn't hurt her child, and as long as it will further his chances of, you know, being the person he wants to be, then she doesn't see why not. There's really nothing bad that could come of it, in which of course that would be the case. But of course All Might would say that they just wanted to run it by her and make sure that everything was okay. And Izuku says, how about this, after the UA Sports Festival, he will gain the powers of All Might, or the quirk of One for All. He tells him if he sees anything throughout the UA Sports Festival that makes him believe that Izuku doesn't deserve it, then shut it all down. In which, of course, that probably wouldn't be the case, but they do agree to this. And Izuku goes off to take up part in the UA Sports Festival, and he is the #1 student, so he gives a bit of a speech. That speech would involve, you know, saying that everyone's gonna have a great time. He hopes that everybody gets a chance to show off what they're capable of, and all this stuff, right? Yada yada yada. All that good stuff. And he tells them that nonetheless, at the end of the day, everybody is going to give it their absolute all, their absolute kind of their absolute best. So they're going to see what everyone is truly capable of, and everyone is very excited to see that specifically. And quickly and right off the bat, they would see what Izuku is about and see what Izuku is capable of. Because in terms of the first part, which is like the obstacle course race, Izuku would easily speed through the obstacle course and just destroy everybody, like absolutely destroy everybody. And everyone's like, whoa, this is pretty wild. So like the fact that this kid, that Izuku Midoriya, this guy that is, let's just say flat out, got his quirk late or his powers late, is capable like this. He's able to do stuff like this. It makes people really just have insane questions. I mean, at the end of the day, he was somebody that was a late bloomer, somebody that people looked at as, yeah, maybe he has a chance. I mean, the chances of you being a late bloomer, I mean, it's like nothing, right? Like, you're not gonna get that far. But quickly, that whole narrative would shut down because Izuku would easily get first in the obstacle course race and then proceed to absolutely kill the cavalry battle, leading him to facing off with Hitoshi Shinso in the actual first 1v1. But without even talking, Izuku is all business. That is literally how he's been trained from the very beginning, or from, the very beginning, even from when he didn't even have his powers. He's always been about business, and that's it. He's not thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give this guy a chance, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And he immediately jumps into action and immediately would eliminate Shinso before anything could even occur. And in doing so, this would make things very, 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 very simple for Izuku and make things pretty straightforward, as he eliminates Shinso, not being affected obviously by the quirk, or of like the mind control quirk. But on top of that, he wouldn't have to worry about really much else. I mean, at all. I mean, he'd face off with someone like Todoroki, who, don't get me wrong, is very powerful in his own right, but him only utilizing his eyesight, or his that one side, or his mother's side, definitely puts him at a massive disadvantage. And in doing so, putting him at that massive disadvantage without his fire, I mean, it's pretty obvious that Izuku would handle him. But Izuku tries to get that fire side out of him, tries to kind of goad it out of him. But this version of Izuku actually doesn't kind of approach things the same way that the original would. He would approach things in the way of trying to make him angry, make him mad, trying to get him to fully lock in and do this or do that, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. And Izuku just decides, you know what, fine, if you don't want to, if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to, take that next step and be like that, use that fire side of yours, then so be it. And Izuku just leaves it as is and decides to, for the most part, just defeat him quickly. And this would lead to a lot of these other people getting defeated quickly as well, leading to Tenya Ida being easily dispatched of, knocked out, and defeated. But on top of that, there's one other person that wants to put his hands on Izuku Midoriya and defeat him and or show that he is capable, and that is the one and only Katsuki Bakugo. But Bakugo, quickly he'll realize that this fight is far from fair. This fight is not the fight that he really should have wanted, and not the fight that he really should have been looking for, because soon he'll realize the level and the difference between Izuku and him, and soon he'll realize that the difference is larger than you could possibly imagine. Because when they fight, even when he lands an explosion clean, Izuku would shrug it off very easily, and he would shrug it off to the point where everybody would think it did 0 damage. Now, is that 100% true? No, of course it had some sort of effect, but overall, it's not having that much of an effect that it really could. Now, and the more Izuku kind of gets prepared in this regard, the more he gets used to a lot of these things, let's just say Izuku is going to be more and more prepared, more and more durable, and more powerful as he gets along. And after defeating Bakugo, after showing everybody what he's capable of, this would be the final judgment of Izuku deciding to take on One for All, and Izuku actually becoming the successor to, well, One for All and the one and only All Might. Now, with all that done, with all that said, All Might would be happy to have a successor like him, sending him off to train with someone like Gran Torino, allowing him to actually be pretty damn good at almost everything that he does. Gran Torino teaches him quite a bit in terms of moves, in terms of martial arts, and also in terms of controlling One for All, giving him the ability to utilize 15 to 20% of it on top of his already insane like strength, durability, and power in general. Izuku and well, his ability to maintain One for All is also at an insanely high level, and the reason for this, well, it's because his power that he has, the power that was granted to him, by his literal mother, isn't a quirk. It is powers of biology. It is from and built in to his DNA. So the fact is, there is no repercussions for him to actually be granted One for All. There's no repercussions in terms of, eventually he will die early on, or eventually these quirks will hurt him a lot more. That's actually not the case. None of that is the case because Izuku doesn't have a quirk. He is still quirkless just like All Might, but All Might wasn't, well, the son of the universe's most insane conquerors known as the Viltrumites. He wasn't the son of someone like Inko Midoriya, who is legitimately a full-blooded Viltrumite, and that right there gives Izuku an upper hand that not even a single person on this planet will truly understand, and it would lead him to very easily handling and dismantling the hero killer, dismantling and helping his so-called friend Tenya Ida. And I say so-called because it's not like they're really buddy-buddy, but they are somewhat friends, right? They're acquaintances, you could say, but at the same time, they are still somewhat in a good friendship in a way. Now, with all that said, though, Izuku defeats the hero killer, or Stain, with the help of Todoroki, very easily, in fact. And yes, they would get into a little bit of trouble, but nothing would really set them up further than that, and he wouldn't actually get into any permanent trouble. And the teachers, or like Gran Torino's and Endeavor, they would take the brunt of it, at least for a little bit. And Endeavor would also take the the credit for the defeat of Stain, other known as the hero killer, leading them to eventually going back to UA and going to take on their own final exams that start with written portions that Izuku and many others study up on quite a bit, but also eventually this practical portion that initially they thought would be robots, but it would actually be pro heroes themselves, or teachers, faculty, stuff like that, against the students. And the people that are going head to head, or the students that are going to team up, are Izuku Midoriya and no one else. Izuku would hear this and think, why am I alone? Why is it just me? But then he would be told, because he's going against one person and one person only, that being the greatest hero alive, known as All Might. In which Izuku would be shocked, be a little bit taken back by this, but also at the same time be kind of excited. Izuku is pretty interested in this. I mean, he gets to take on All Might. You're telling me he gets to take on arguably the greatest hero ever in a one-on-one fight? Yeah. I mean, who would ever turn that down? Who would ever want to give up that chance? So when he stands face to face, one kind of street length away from All Might, and he's staring him down, there's a lot of people that are excited to see the outcome. But someone else who is also excited is actually his mother. His mother stands there in a nearby kind of area box and wants to watch her son actually fight. Her son take on the greatest hero, and she's given this opportunity because of All Might himself and kind of a conversation they had. But there's an uneasy feeling that All Might and many others get from Inko watching this fight. Why exactly would she want to watch her own son take on a full-fledged hero? Why would she want to watch her son take on somebody who could potentially hurt them or hurt her son? Isn't it kind of a scary thing for a parent? But Inko leans forward in her chair as if she's watching with intent, watching very, very focused, watching and wondering what her son can really do. And that right there makes people a little bit uneasy, but they can't say anything really at all because it's not like she's done anything wrong. But eventually, they will know exactly why Inko Midoriya is watching so intently at a battle between her son, Izuku Midoriya, and the one and only All Might. But that is gonna have to wait until the next and final part of What If Deku was half Viltrumite. And if you guys enjoyed, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.